So if I do like a cartwheel, right? Look at that. It follows the head. Whenever I think of minimaps, I weirdly enough think about olives as well. You know how like as a kid, like you maybe tried an olive somewhere and you just didn't like it. It just sucked and you're like, why do people eat this? But then as you grow older, or at least some people, they try an olive when they're older and they're like, damn, that actually is really nice, right? Because as a kid, you like more flashy things. You like the more colorful things. Like as kids, we've had very questionable tastes in food. You know, I remember ordering a bunch of like cotton candy ice cream and looking back, it's the worst thing ever. But I say minimaps are like olives because they basically are, right? Every single game with a minimap has the minimap very underused. I feel like a lot of people who play these games honestly barely use them. Maybe they'll like open it up occasionally for pings or whatever, but they just don't really treat it as an actual thing that can give you a constant flow of information. Look, points is, this video is about minimaps, okay? Specifically just how weirdly simple they actually are to make. And this is weird to me because of genuinely how much versatility and just interesting mechanics that minimaps actually can provide, right? Like, you know, the average player doesn't think about these things. Like, they play a game, they're like, oh yeah, minimap, duh, obviously. But like us programmers, right, we always like tend to look at things from that perspective. I'm now having this thing where like if I'm, you know, playing a game that I enjoy and I want to give the developers some feedback on like Twitter or whatever, I literally have to think about whether that thing would even be possible to code in before I suggest it. And I don't mean anything stupid. Like I remember some guy suggested an ability where like you could stop time, but only for yourself. Like other players won't know that you stopped time, which obviously is a very stupid thing because that's literally impossible to do. But you know what I mean, right? You start looking at features that are, you know, technically possible, but like as a programmer, you're like, okay, me personally, I would not like to do this. And I think that's where minimaps actually came in and actually captured my attention. I've been playing this game recently called Splitgate, which I played it before, but I came back recently because it is pretty fun and nostalgic. And the reason I bring up Splitgate is because it actually has a very simple minimap. It's just a circle that just shows you where enemies are, okay? It shows enemies as like these little dots, and then it has arrows that says like whether the enemy is above you or below you or on your level. And that's very useful because the whole point of Splitgate is that you consistently move around using portals, and that can get like, you know, very disorienting. And so it's just nice to kind of know where people are around you. And even though I call this map simple, like honestly, like think about it. What is the code that goes into it? Isn't it a little difficult to kind of determine where the players are around the player? Like you probably know like, okay, yeah, if they're close to the player, that's fairly easy, right? But it's like, depending on where the player is looking and the position of the enemy players, how would you translate that onto a map? Like what's the type of math you have to do to actually make the minimap an accurate representation of like what's actually going on in the 3D world? And that's just a simple basic map, right? There's so many different ways of actually making maps. Like one common type of minimap that I see often is like where they just add another camera into the 3D world, which, you know, is a bit boring, but like, you know, for like a first person game where you can't really see your surroundings, it actually does work quite well, especially because you don't have to deal with like doing, you know, weird calculations and everything when you literally are just showing what's actually going on in the 3D world. Then there's one which is very similar, but instead of using this world, it almost makes like a copy of this world to use in their own minimap. So this usually applies for minimaps that like still want to showcase the 3D world, but want to change something up. So for example, maybe a minimap where like every single player is now highlighted, right? You don't want to highlight every player in the actual 3D world, but you want them highlighted on the minimap. And the only way for you to actually do that, at least on Roblox Studio, is to basically clone and create your own versions of the characters. And then the hardest one probably has to be like an actual drawn custom map. Not only because of the effort that actually gets, you know, put into the map, but also the fact that you have to like make sure that the drawing is very accurate to the actual map. And then when you combine it with the fact that these maps can like be zoomed in or out, and then you could like put a ping on the map, which then puts a ping on the actual 3D world, you start to realize just like, whoa, this little niche thing, which honestly I ignore in like every game I play, has had so much effort and thought put into it. But as always, it's actually insanely easy to make, and I'll show you how to do that right now. In fact, I'm willing to bet that even if you've never touched Studio in your life, okay, that you would still look at what I'm making and be like, you know what, I understand this. Like, okay, fine, maybe you won't understand some of my terminology, but you'll get the main idea. All right, enough of me walking around, right? This is the thing. How do you make a minimap? Well, first, obviously, you need to understand that a minimap is just user interface. Now, in case you don't know what user interface is, it's stuff like this, okay? It's like a 2D thing. It's like an image or a button that just exists on your screen, and no matter where you look, it always remains on the same position. And so Roblox Studio has this very interesting item called a viewport frame. And so I'll just scale this up a little bit and then just put it over here, like so. We can customize this later, right? But basically the whole idea of a viewport frame is that inside of it, you can add a part, right? You can like whatever type of part, a regular part, a mesh part, a corner wedge, truss, whatever, and then also you can add a camera. And so then what this does is this then creates a world inside of the viewport frame. It does not affect the actual 3D world, you can't interact with it. All that goes on is that the camera inside of this viewport frame performs calculations by basically checking its own position and then checking the position of the other parts inside of the same viewport frame, and then checking like, okay, in a real scenario, would I be able to see these parts? So I can show this to you right now, right? Let's make a part, and then I can make a camera and then set the current camera property of the viewport frame equal to this camera. And look, there we go. Now we can see the part. And whenever something about the part changes, like its, color, for example, then that will be reflected on the viewport frame, right? Look at that. So like I said, it's literally just a 3D world, but just inside user interface that you can't really interact with unless maybe you script some things that like, oh yeah, when you click, it makes a ping or whatever. And that is it. That's it. You can literally just take all of these parts in here and then just clone them into the viewport frame. That is all you have to do. Now real quick, let's actually make this viewport frame look nicer. So the very first thing I want this thing to do is to actually scale along with the screen, because right now if I do this, as you can see, it gets cropped weirdly, which just looks bad. Because then this means that if anyone is playing on a phone, then this is just gonna look terrible. So I need to set the size to, instead of using offset, because right now the scale is 0 and offset is, this number, we gotta make sure that it uses scale. And to do that, we could just say something like 0.1, which just automatically makes it scaled. And so then I can, put it back to being this size. And so now what happens is that it gets scaled with the screen. And so yeah, let's actually just customize this a little bit. I'm thinking we could add a UI stroke. So we could just give it a nice dark outline, make it look a little like this. And I'm thinking also an UI aspect ratio constraint. And all that this does is just ensure that no matter the size, it's always going to be a square, right? So let's say if I make the screen like this, it's always going to be a square. So that's pretty cool. Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, for some reason, it's going to the right side whenever I scale it. So maybe let's add it onto the right side, just so it doesn't look too weird. How would this look? Yeah, nice. There we go. And yeah, viewport frame finished. Obviously not. Obviously, we still have to add certain elements to it, but you hopefully kind of understand the basic idea. So here's what I'm thinking we can do, okay? I'm going to add a local script inside of the viewport frame. The reason this is a local script, by the way, and not a regular, server script, because server scripts affect the actual game, while local scripts only affect what we see as a player. And so obviously we want this, viewport minimap to only show us where we are right now, meaning that this minimap will look different for every single player, which is why it's a local script, because local scripts only affect what we as the player see and not what everyone around us sees. And then the very last thing I'll do is I'll just make a folder inside of the viewport frame, and this folder is going to be where we can store all of our parts and our camera. And in case you're wondering why I'm making a folder and why I'm not just going to add parts inside the viewport frame, because what I'm thinking we can do, right, is we can clone all of these parts, whatever is just in the workspace, and then we basically need to delete these parts and then make new ones. Because the issue with these viewport frames is that they're not going to reflect what is actually happening in the real game. So I know that sounds a little confusing, but let me just show you. I'll just make a quick variable for folder, which is script.parents, wait for child folder. And then here's what I'm gonna do, okay? I'll say for I, v in workspace gets descendants do, which effectively makes us loop through every single part inside of the workspace, which is the 3D world. So first it's going to loop through this camera. So V is going to be equal to the camera. Then once all the code here is finished, then it's going to move on to terrain, then spawn location, then the decal, then base plate, then texture, and then anything else that might be in the workspace. So V is just the item that we're looping through. So we need to check if V is a base part, and also not V is a terrain, because the last time I did this, apparently it considered a terrain to be a base part, which it shouldn't be. So we just need to do this extra little check. And so then what we do is we just create a clone of the V and then set its parent to be the folder. And then the very last thing we're going to do is just set the camera of the viewport frame, so script.parent.current camera, equal to our own camera, so workspace.current camera. And so if we play the game right now, this is what's going to happen, okay? As you can see, the camera is updating because we set that camera equal to our camera, and our camera is always updating, right? But what happened here is that I'm not updating the parts, and you can't really see all of my accessories for some reason. I'm sure there's a fix, but honestly, I'm just too lazy, so we're going to work with what we got. Like, as you can see, the model isn't updating. So obviously, we need to somehow fix that. I'm going to copy and delete this line of code, and then I'll say while task.wait do. What this effectively does is just creates an infinite loop. And so then I can do all of this, take every single part and then just add it inside of the viewport. But the problem here is that if I do it like this, it's going to keep cloning new parts and filling up the viewport frame folder with these parts. So what we want to do is right before we create these new parts, we want to ensure that any old part has been deleted, because otherwise this is how it's going to look, right? Look at that, right? I mean, it looks kind of cool, but you know what I mean. So right before adding new parts, we just need to call the folder clear all children function. And if we do this, then as you can see, it works fine. And the last thing we have to fix is the actual camera, okay? Because right now the camera is the workspace current camera, which, okay, kind of works fine, right? But the problem here is that, like, if let's say we're, in a first person game where minimaps are usually used, this is how it's going to look like, right? It doesn't look nice. So what we actually have to do is we need to create our own camera. So I'll say local new cam is equal to instance.new camera. And so then what I'm thinking we can do is we can set the position of this new camera equal to the position of our player's head. And so then what I'm thinking we can do is we can position this new camera to be a few studs above our player's head, and then also ensure that the camera is rotated in a way where it's looking down on the player's head. So here's the way I'm going to do this, okay? I'll say local car, so character, is equal to game.players.localplayer.character, and just in case we can't actually find the character, so if not character, then continue end. Basically meaning like, okay, just move on to the next loop and try again. But if we do have the character, then here's what I'll do. New cam.cframe, which basically is just position and rotation, right? So equal to cframe.new. First it needs the position, which is car.head, and then plus vector3.new, let's say 0, 20, 0, which just means it's going to be positioned 20 studs above the player's head. And so that's the position, right? But then the very next thing we actually need is to give it the position that we want it to look at, which funnily enough is also the character's head position, which I'm now realizing I forgot to set dot position here as well. So let's just do that. And then yeah, I'll just say new cam.parent is equal to folder, and then script.parent.current camera is equal to new cam. And I literally think that this is everything. Beautiful. Look at that. No matter where my current camera actually is. Yeah, look at that. It literally just shows us everything that actually is going on in the real world. Obviously, my character looks a little, different, but that's besides the point. And the thing is, there are some really cool ways to actually modify this. Like, for example, we're positioning it 20 studs above, right? But then what if I set Z to be 10, right? What if we offset it by 10 Z studs? How is that going to look like? Yeah, look at that. It's not a big difference, but it's like a little bit curved. Or what if I set the Y axis to be 10 instead of 20? Well, then now it looks like this, right? So we have our mini map, but like, look at that. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, for some weird reason, whenever the camera like zooms in or zooms out, it kind of lags my character. But I think that's just an issue of how like Roblox renders characters. Yeah, I'll set it back to 20 and this back to 0, but like you can see the cool things you can do with this. Another cool thing that I picked up on is because it follows the player's head position, it means that this minimap will literally align itself to the player's head, right? Look at this. Like whenever I like walk or jump or anything, right? Whenever I do anything like that, it always ensures that the player's head is in the middle of its screen. And I can show you this right now by like doing some emotes. So if I do like a cartwheel, right? Look at that. It follows the head. And there is honestly so much more stuff we could do. Like for example, if I go into my player GUI and I click on this viewport frame, you could change the direction of the light. So you could do something like this, right? Which obviously isn't a big difference. But then you could change the color of the light. You could make it red or something. You could change the ambient color and also make it red. Or you could turn it into this like visor green color. And now it looks like we're just in some crappy, like, I don't know, war simulator tycoon game or something. Yeah, there's a lot of cool tweaks you could make. If this video changed your life and inspired you absolutely, or maybe you're just a fan of my teaching style, or maybe even both, that happens sometimes. I do have a full raw 6-hour course on just teaching Roblox Studio, because like I get it, bro. On YouTube, I am kind of, maximizing for views, so a lot of the things that I might say or do or make videos on is mainly done with the idea that like actual helpful knowledge isn't clicked on as much as, these like funny, wacky ideas. But if you're a beginner and you genuinely think you could benefit from my Roblox Studio scripting advice, then the course is linked both in the description and the pinned comment. There's like a free preview, you know, you don't have to like link your credit card or anything, so you can go check that out. And if you like the preview, then, you know, you could go buy the course. But I do hope that this video is going to make you think twice before you play a game, you know, join, and then, you know, you look at some feature that, you know, kind of seems stupid for you, and you're like, yo, whatever. I just hope that now you look at every single feature and just kind of think like, I wonder how they made it. I wonder if this feature would be complicated to make in my own engine of choice. Because doing this not only will make you more humble as a developer, but it is just good practice anyway, because it just makes you think about development even when you're playing a game. And yeah, do subscribe because I really want to get the cool silver play button. And as always, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.